After 3 days in Seoul, it was time to go further to Mihwangsa to seek calmness and the true spirit of Buddhist traditions. Mihwangsa is a Buddhist temple that is located 300 kilometers south of Seoul. After 4.5-hour travel by bus, I reached the most southern point of the Korean peninsula, Hanam County and the city of Hanam. Therefrom, I took a cab, and 40 minutes later I was finally there, up in the mountains, ready to find out about the ancient history of Mihwangsa and the Buddhist traditions that this imposing temple had maintained since the birth back in 747 AD. The Establishment Tale. The legend tells that in the 8th year
of the reign of King Kuyong-duk, 749 after death, the 30th king of Shilla dynasty, a stone ship appeared off the coast of Sajapo, the southern tip of Korea. People heard beautiful sounds from the boat, but when they approached the ship to investigate, it receded from the shore. When they gave up and turned their backs to leave, it would come closer again. This process repeated for several days. The ship finally anchored at the port after the great master Uijo Hasang, along with 2 monks and 100 residents, purified themselves and offered prayers. Once aboard the stone ship, there were the Lotus Sutra and a Buddhist wall painting. There were also statues of Bojana Bull, Varkana, the cosmetic Buddha, Munsu Bosal, Manshurji, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, Boyeon Bosal, Samanpadra, the Bodhisattva of practice, 40 sages, 53 great enlightened masters, and 60 Nahan, Arantas, enlightened disciples of the Buddha. After opening the golden box, they broke open the black rock. A tiny black cow emerged from the rock and suddenly grew into a huge cow. That night, Uijo Hasang had a dream in which he saw a man in golden robes who said, "I am the king of India. The shape of the mountains in this area is auspicious and suitable for a shrine to 10,000 Buddhas. Please place the sutras and statues on the back of the cow and establish a temple where it lays down." The next day, Master Uijo did as he had been told in the dream. The cow fell down when it was crossing Dama Mountain, but stood back up and kept going. He continued for quite some time, before finally falling down again with a loud crash. This time, the cow did not stand back up. Therefore, Tangongyusa was established at the place where the cow fell down the first time, and Mihwangsa, where it fell down the second time. The temple is named Mi, that means beautiful, after the unusually pleasing, strangely musical bellow from the cow, and Huang, that means yellow or gold, after the golden robes of the man in Master Uijo's dream.
This is the Mihwangsa main hall, and the 3 Buddhas here. The middle Buddha's name is Sakkamuni, and the left Buddha's name Amitabha, right Buddha's name Yaksayerebul. And look at the ceiling, and the crossed beam are decorated with Sanskrit letters, as you can see. And this way and all over the world, and 1,000 Buddhas here. 1,000 Buddhas almost 250 years ago drawing.
So, what did my days in the temple look like? Well, at 4 a.m. the morning bell rang, and it was time to get up and attend in the main hall. 20 minutes later, the morning chanting called Jabal started. This solemn ceremony is dedicated to praise the Buddhas and is held 3 times a day, in the morning, at midday, and in the evening. The Jabal also helps to clear one's mind. When you have entered the main hall, the first you do is to bow 3 times to the Buddhas, and you do the same once you leave. After the Jabal, we went out into the yard in front of the main hall and practiced walking meditation. It was performed in a way that we all walked slowly in a straight line quietly, 3 times round, and afterwards we entered the main hall once again. The clock struck 5 a.m. and it was time to practice sitting meditation the forthcoming 30 minutes. I felt that it was easy to motivate yourself and do the meditation probably, because of the solemn environment I was surrounded by. 1 hour later, at 6:30, the gongyang were served. You could say that gongyang means just meal. The base of gongyang looked similar when it was served at breakfast, lunch and dinner. A meal was based on rice and kimchi. To that, different food items were served. For an example, the first day I remember, to breakfast, radish and cut mushroom soup was served with the base. The mushrooms were grown in the Mihwangsa's own garden. After the gongyang, it was time for voluntary work. The first day we began to sweep the yard in front of the main hall. We used a broom to loosen the slushed gravel. Afterwards, we continued to take care of the surroundings. We broomed all the stairs and gathered all the trash that the tourists had thrown in the environment. After an hour of work, we had 1.5 hours of free time until the second Jabal of the day started. This time, it went on for 1 hour and 25 minutes. At 11:30, we ate lunch and had free time until 6 p.m. when it was dinner time. At 7 p.m., the evening chanting began and ended up with a walking meditation once again. But this time, we didn't go back to the main hall. Instead, we went to another building and had Dharma talk over tea. This part was interesting. We all sat down on the floor in a half circle in front of one of the temple's monks. He asked what kind of tea we wanted and handed it over. Once everybody had their tea, the monk started to speak. He started to ask us if we had an affection in the past we have altered. The question went from person to person clockwise. He asked us then if we were conscious about an affection that we have now, that we wanted to put an end to. It's time for the annual tea ceremony that is dedicated to the ancient monks, and to honor them who have played an important role to the path of Mihwangsa's long history and traditions. The ceremony begins with that the participants receive a bowl of fresh tea. The participants then place their vessel onto the tombstone. Everyone then sit in front of the ancient graves and start the solemnic chanting. After this process, the party goes back to the bowls that the former emplaced and pour out half of the contents onto the tombstones, and then they drink the remainings. Eventually we all ate dinner and had a fruitful chat about the social and respectful gathering, dedicated to the ancient monks that forever are attended in these surroundings, in an immortal way, in the eye of the believers that keep the tradition alive.